Welcome back, you beautiful souls, to a new series. Now, I discussed this on Discord. I even put out a poll. The results of that poll was you guys decided that Izuku Midoriya would be aware of it. And I'm kind of happy you voted for that because it makes this a whole lot easier. So, first off, for many of you that have not read the that haven't read a lot of the outside sources for the Clone Wars, and that you don't, and if you haven't seen this series, turn off from the series now. This is your first. This is a spoiler warning because some of the stuff that will be discussed in this episode will kind of spoil the Clone Wars for you if you are watching that. That being said, fair warning: the story begins in 3, 2, 1, go. So our story actually begins not on Earth. Well, it begins a couple thousand years before the start of the anime, where humans have reached out into like the far reaches of the galaxy. Now, one colony ship with a couple million people on it came, like, it had a malfunction and crash landed on the planet, which later becomes Earth in the MHA. So that way, I don't like, and this part is really more so for plot convenience. That way, I'm not doing an alien hybrid Deku again, which that series will still continue. Apologize about that, but that's why I'm putting that in there. Like, the Deku will be a human, just a human of a different sort. So now we're going to cut to about, let's see, she was 26, so we're going to cut to about 20 to about, so story starts when Izuku was 15, so it'd be 15 years there plus this. We're going to cut to about 12 years before, no, yeah, let's just say 12 years. 12 years before the start. No, it'd be 6 plus 15. 22, my bad. 22 years before the start of the anime. There's a young Inko Midoriya. She's a curious one. Like, has a weak quirk and everything, and she's just out in the country visiting her folks during one of her breaks from college. And she's just looking up at the stars, just gazing out at them, seeing just thinking, what if is this all that there is? Like, is this planet all that there is in the universe? Like, what's going on? Because in this, Inko's more inquisitive about things. No, well, yeah, spoilers. But so Inko in this she's still the Inko we all know and love, but she won't get depressed because Izuku is quirkless because of reasons that will be discussed in a little further in the video. But she's more inquisitive. She's more open to ideas and more perceptive. She's always been curious. Like, she's always just felt like this wasn't everything there is. Like, is this all her life is? Is just sitting, like, just go to college, find work, possibly get attacked by villains, because hero society has developed. these are things that she's just thinking, just kind of laying down, looking up in the stars. And then she starts seeing something peculiar. She sees a star that begins to move, and it seems like it's getting closer and closer. She gets up, she starts really tracking this, and then she sees it shoot across the sky, and then several miles like away out in the mountains where her folks live, she sees this thing crash. So she goes to like investigate. And as she's getting closer, she finds like this scar, like this scorched earth, and it's like a scar. So she's following this, and then she sees it. She's like, "Whoa, that wasn't an asteroid. That was a ship." And she goes and investigates, and she notices that the whatever this thing is, it's in pretty bad condition. Then it opens up, and a man falls out. He's coughing, and then she notices that he has like what appears to be burn marks like on his chest, where it looked like someone took like a red hot iron stick and just jammed it into like his shoulder. His leg is cut, and like all these wounds are basically, well, the wound on his leg, like she notices that it's cauterized. And she freaks out, so she immediately pulls the guy up out of the wreckage, using her quirk a little bit. And Inko's quirk in this, it's a little bit stronger than what it is in canon, so she's able to lift fairly decent sized objects. Let's say a baby Izuku. Okay, let's say a baby Izuku is like her max weight, like 5-6 pounds is like her max weight. In this, her max weight would be between 10-15 pounds. Just not a big difference, but noticeable from canon, like stronger. So she pulls this guy out, and he just says, I thought everyone else was killed. Because he saw what Inko did, and he passes out. So Inko like slowly carries him back to her parents' home, and her parents start freaking out, and Inko says, "Mom, Dad, I don't know what happened, but this guy, he fell out of the sky in some kind of weird aircraft. I think he's like an astronaut or something." So they're worried. They wait a couple of days. Like the guy is completely out, and it seems like the wound on his shoulder is kind of superficial, and the wound that was on his leg was sort of cauterized. So being in the woods, they know how to stitch themselves. I mean, generally speaking, where I grew up, pretty much grew up in the boonies, and we learned how to like do like field stitches. At least most of the kids in my school knew how to do like field stitches, but that's probably just our culture. But I'm gonna say, in them living so remotely, they had to learn how to do certain medical practices because they do live in pretty much the boonies, far out of civilization. Like, I wouldn't say they're off grid completely, but they're basically off the grid type of living lifestyle with Inko's parents. So during these few days, they don't hear anything about it, and about a week after, so they decide not to like call authorities because dad doesn't want like a bunch of government dickheads coming on his property and telling him where he can go and can't go, type of thing. So they just wait, and they do kind of tie the guy down because he's a stranger. So about a week passed, and this guy like finally awakes, and he's just staring at this woman, and he asks her, like, are you a Jedi? And the lady like replies to him, it's like, what's a Jedi? I saw you, like, you used an ability to lift me out of my ship. Thank you. And then he feels like pressure on his leg, and he looks down and he sees that the wound that he received from a saber attack had been like sewed up. And he looks at her, and she kind of nods, because he looked at her with those inquisitive eyes, like, did you do this? And he says, yeah, I did. So then he sees like he's like his legs are like latched down, and he just looks at her, and she says, I'm sorry, Dad, it was Dad's idea. He said that you were a stranger and it'd be safe. Like, I hope that's okay. And the man says, it's fine, but if you weren't using the Force, what did you use? And Inko says, I used a quirk. And then the gentleman asks, like, does your planet know anything about an empire? And Inko's like, no, like, there's nothing about that. And then the gentleman's just thinking, it's like, okay, so I'm out of the empire's domain. Good. And then Inko asks, like, where are you? Like, the man asks, like, what planet is this? And Inko says, well, this is Earth, obviously, dummy. And he stops talking for a few more moments, and he's just thinking. And then he just points his hand down to his feet, and takes the latches off and stands up. And Inko's like, she freaks out, but she's not freaking out of what the guy just did. She's freaking out because the dude was just basically in a coma for a month, and he's now standing. So she basically runs over to him and shoves him back into the bed, saying, no, you need to rest a little bit longer. Like, you can't be walking up around like this. This is like, you fell out of the sky, and like you were seriously hurt. Like, what's your name? And he says, my name's Hasashi. And Inko was like, Hasashi, what is that, your family name? Is that your first name? And then the guy says, it's just Hasashi. I don't have, well, I probably have family, but I come from a place where people who exhibit these types of abilities are pretty much found and taken into a temple and trained how to use their abilities for good. And just like, oh, so like some kind of special advanced hero academy. And the guy looks at her and is like, hero academy? What? So after the day of them talking, Inko is surprised by this because her parents aren't there right now. Like, they went into town to get like more supplies. And when they get home, like, they see Inko like outside with the guy, and they come running up. They're like, Inko, get away from him! You don't know. And then he's like, Mom, Dad, his name's Hasashi, and, well, he's from a very far away land. He had a malfunction with his craft, and we were about to go look at it. Inko's mother saying, well, you're not going to be going with him. And he's like, Mom, come on, he's okay, he's not a threat. He basically broke the latches himself, and if he was evil, if he was a villain, he would have like hurt me while you guys were along. And besides, he has similar power to me. Maybe he can teach me like certain things. So her parents allow her to walk for her to show show him where his ship is. Albeit Inko's father is coming along too. Because she didn't tell him where the ship was. Like, she just said it's somewhere in the woods. So they get to the ship, and Inko's like, see, and the guy just his shoulders just drop, and like his chest, like it just. If you were to look at Hasashi, you would just see someone that was utterly defeated, like someone who was completely and just utterly defeated by what they're seeing. And Inko walks up to him and is like, "Everything will be okay. If you can't get it fixed, then you can stay with us, right, Dad?" Because on their journey to the ship, Hasashi explained where he was from, and they said, Inko's father's like, so what? You're an alien? And Hasashi's like, no, I'm human. I'm just, well, I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think your people are originally from this planet. He didn't go into full details. So over those couple hours, he had been able to get the Midoriya's trust, because for some reason, like Inko said, just every word that Hasashi speaks has no semblance of hiding something from them. He just doesn't, but they can tell there is something that he's not, telling them. And this is when Inko's father asks, like, so, what happened to you? Why were you so beat up? Well, where I come from, there was a war that started to happen, and my guesses are I got shot off course in the fight. Navigations were destroyed. And cryogen carbonite. I wish it would have just been a cryogenic chamber. But I'm fairly certain that war won't come to your planet. Now that I'm here, he walks over to the ship and he pulls out a device. And then his eyes just go wide. And Inko, is the one to ask this time. She's like, what is it? These readings, they can't be right. This says I'm on the outer reaches of the galaxy. This is impossible. It's only saying I was sealed in carbonite for a year. What the hell? So then they just see the guy. He basically like, well, in that case, that means I don't really need to hide my abilities that much. So they just see Hasashi reach over, lift his hand, as he's lifting his hand, his ship rises off the ground, and then he just casually starts walking back to their house. And the whole time, Inko and Inko's father are just kind of gawking at this because holy shit. Something like the size of a space shuttle. This dude is literally like something like half the size of a space shuttle, like the size of like a small plane. This dude is just lifting up like it's nothing. And just walking with it. So they're flabbergasted at this. So when they get back to the house, like Hisashi sees the concern on their faces, and he's like, "Oh, that it's." He looks at Inko, and Inko's just has this questioning look. Is it the? And Hisashi says, "Yes, it is that." And Inko's like, "Wait, I didn't even say that. How did you?" "Oh, my power, it grants me unique abilities. I'll explain everything, but right now," he turns to Inko's father and asks, "Do you have any kind of tools, like some kind of torch or welding equipment?" And Inko's father's like, "Yeah, but why do you need that?" "Well, I can't have this thing laying around, and I need to strip it for parts." So they do. Hasashi he gets all the usable parts off of it, and then they just see him. I'm calling him Hasashi, but if I say the dude's moniker, it would spoil things. So we're using Hasashi for now. And this is Hasashi because I am changing Izuku's father. And so this would be the Hasashi of the story. And if a certain theory later comes out, which I don't believe is real, I'll retcon who his father is, and this individual is Izuku's father in this what if. So that being said, let's continue on our story. Okay, right there. So Izuku, in this Hasashi, he's one moment. I am getting a phone call on the other line. Sorry about that, but I just had someone calling me that needed help getting into the door to the complex. So that where was well, yeah. So Hasashi, after he strips down this ship that he came in, he lays it all out, and he's just looking down, and he just does that semblance where you put your hand on your on your forehead, and you kind of rub your temples with your middle finger and your thumb, and the other thing is like, "What's wrong?" And Sashi's like, "Well, these parts, they're usable. Like fuel, I've got plenty of that, but this is going to take a while." So over the next several years, he begins to develop feelings for this woman, this Midoriya Inko, as like they call themselves. And he explains that he has to get back. He has to warn them about a major threat. Like, he has critical information that his side needs to win the war. So he's developed feelings, and Inko's parents have come to like the guy because he has more so opened up about his past, and they're surprised about his story. They're like, "Whoa, that's crazy. But he says, I don't know if, like, you guys were, like, some kind of experiment, or, like, it was just some colony that just left and wanted to be out of the reaches of the Empire, but from my readings, you guys should be safe. At least until you can fight for yourself. And with these abilities that you guys call quirks, I don't think this planet would be easily taken over. So he slowly but surely has been building a small ship out at the Midori. And Inko, she decided to, like, get a work study to where she could do her courses online to finish up, because she had some classes, and a few of them she didn't need to be there on campus for them specifically, so she just got it to where, like, she had, like, she was scanned in, like, basically, like, she gets a view of, like, the classroom, so it would be as though she was actually there on the times that she does. And once a month, like, she does need to go to her school to take tests and, like, the exams. Like, she would have to do that in person. So about when Inko is about 20 she's about 25, about around when she was about 25 and a half, things between her and Hasashi really, really, really changed, and they ended up having adult relations. And a couple months after that, Hasashi finishes it, and before he leaves, like, he basically tells Inko that he will return one day. After he delivers this message, he'll do everything he can to come back for her, or to just come back. But he guarantees that no threat your planet won't be put on the radar of the Empire. So your people will be able to live in relative peace. So in this, Inko is sad that he has to go, but she knows it's important. It's really important that he goes. And Hasashi was only able to, like, make a ship that was big enough for one person out of the parts that he had from, like, cannibalizing, like, the ship that he crashed in. Basically, he tells her that he'll be gone for many years because he's going to have to like, basically push it, and then just let inertia carry him for a while, then punch it again, because he doesn't have enough fuel to get all the way back with how far away he actually is. At least to a friendly zone. So that all goes on, and they have a moment, and Inko just gives him a kiss and says, "Be safe out there." And I don't know, it's weird, I just feel something. And the guy says, "Yeah, I know, I feel it too. I really wish I could just turn my back on the war and just live out my life on this planet with you, Inko. But I have to go. There's millions of people counting on me. I'm sorry." As he pulls the latch down, and kind of lifts Inko up and puts her safely down on the ground, and the ship takes off. Possibly never to be seen ever again. So, Inko, several months after Hasashi left, she starts vomiting in the mornings, and she takes a pregnancy test, and she finds out that she's pregnant. Tells her her mother, because something happened to Inko's father. She tells her mother about it, and her mother is very excited that she's going to have a grandson. And then she's like, "Wait, that means I know, Mom. I know it's a lot to ask, but please keep his existence a secret. The less people that know about what we know, the better. And plus, for some reason, I feel I'll be okay. I can't explain it, Mom, but I just know things will be okay." So, next couple of months, Inko notices that every time after her morning sickness, she's gone, like one time after she had her morning sickness, like she went to go fall, and she could have sworn that she felt the same energy or power kind of catcher from when Hasashi would use his ability to like kind of pick her up a little bit, and basically force move, force push, force pull kind of stuff when he would use that ability on her, that it felt the same. So Inko, like in Kitten, has Izuku when she's 26, like in canon. Izuku's early life is fairly uneventful, but he sees his mom using her quirk one day, and he's about 4 years old when he sees this, and he's just thinking, it's like, I wish I could do that. So he just reaches out his hand in the toy, in like what his mother had, skyrockets to his hand, and she's just like, does he have my quirk, or does he have that? How the hell am I going to raise a kid like that? I mean, it was one of my concerns, but so in this, Izuku has no damn clue who his father is, but he's more force sensitive than most people, and it won't really play a part until later on. So Izuku, he's excited, and he's like, Mommy, my quirk, it just came in. Wait. What's the force, Mommy? And Inko's eyes just go wide, and she's like, Baby, did you just hear Mommy's thoughts? And Izuku's like, well, I heard you speak, but your lips weren't moving. So they do take Izuku to like a quirk doctor to see if this is a quirk, because if it's not a quirk, then oh boy, Inko's she's gonna have her hands full regardless. So, but they find out, like, they run tests on him, and Izuku, he tries to do it again, but he just can't, and he can't even read people's minds. Because mind you, Izuku's about is around. This is a couple months. I would say this is a couple of months before Katsuki got like his quirk came in. So he's Izuku's upset, and they run the test like they do in canon, and they tell him it's like, well, it could have been a fluke, but from what the tests say, the boy is indeed quirkless now. Do let us know if it ever happens again, because he may be what we would call a first generation quirk user. There have been cases where people awakened quirks a little bit later in life that did have the joint, but 99.9% of the time, people who have quirks won't have this joint. It's almost guaranteed. And since from my understanding, what you say about what you said about the boy's father, that he was a quirkless guy that left. Like Izuku, he scowls at this, and because Izuku, he doesn't know, like he doesn't comprehend these emotions or these thoughts that he's having. Like if I would have to put it into words, he's resentful towards who his father is for leaving him and his mother, but he doesn't understand that. And so they leave, and a couple months pass, and Izuku, like Katsuki, like awakens his quirk, and Izuku's like, "Oh my God, Kachan, your quirk, it's amazing. I wish, hopefully, my quirk comes back." And Katsuki's like, "Whatever, Izuku. I'm sure your quirk will come back," because Izuku would have told Katsuki that he did. Alright, sorry guys about this little interruption in quirk. So I had someone call, so pardon the double saying of words. So I'm going to backtrack a little bit. Izuku, he was talking with Katsuki, and he was basically explaining that he may be what this thing's called a first generation quirk user, but the likelihood of that is like he has almost guaranteed, like the doctor said, he's almost guaranteed to just be quirkless, or he just had that one time. So Bakio in this, he will still be a jerk. He will still pick on Izuku until a few years later, when Katsuki is 7 and Izuku's not 7 yet, in between like their birthdays. So, but over these past few years, Izuku, he's just in his dreams, and when he's walking, sometimes he can just feel someone looking for him. He can feel that someone's looking for him, and he doesn't know how to explain this. Like, he can't explain this feeling, how he knows this, and he's aware that he's aware that someone is indeed looking for him, and that he's not normal. So one day, Izuku and Katsuki are walking home from school, because in this they will remain friends, because like Izuku does exhibit things that are not normal, and it may be just like his quirk, possibly, because sometimes it just seems like Izuku floats sometimes, or objects just kind of move away from him ever so slightly, and Katsuki has seen this, and he's asked Izuku about it, and Izuku's like, I honestly don't... Wait, what? And Izuku would say, I don't know, Kachan, maybe. So, he does get the nickname Deku, but it's not used the same way that it is in canon. basically, Katsuki is like, you have a useless quirk, Deku. That useless quirk of yours almost makes you like Deku, like worthless. And he jokingly calls him like Deku several times, but if someone else calls him that, he like basically punches him in the face. Because like in canon, Mitsuki in because it seems like in canon, but I'm gonna say Mitsuki and Inko have become friends over the years, and Katsuki, yeah, Izuku, he's Deku and he's worthless, but that's his childhood friend. He has a useless quirk, but eh. But unlike in canon, Izuku, he didn't actually like reach his hand out for like Katsuki. He basically just walked over and pulled a towel out of his bag and just kind of stood there at the edge of the bank and just kind of glared at Katsuki during that whole time and just kind of held out the towel. And Katsuki's like, what the hell's this for? And Izuku's like, I don't know, Kachan. Something just told me to bring a towel today. And I guess I needed it. So, whatever. But it's just things like that, like unexplainable things, even outside of Izuku's quirk, Izuku like exhibits. And so they're Katsuki's 7 and Izuku's 6.5. And they're walking home, and a guy jumps out and goes to like attack them. Instinctively, Izuku just shoves both of his hands out, and Katsuki's just standing there dumbfounded because he just saw a guy with a knife that was running at them go flying 200 yards. And Izuku's just standing there, like, just looking at his hands, and Katsuki comes running over him to him. He's like, oh my god, Izuku, your quirk! Holy cow, how did you... And Izuku's just standing, like, he's looking at his hands, and he's like, Kachan, that wasn't a quirk? How did... And so, after the cops arrived, because Izuku did call his mom called the police. Police called heroes. Heroes arrived, and they got the guy, and they basically tell Izuku that they'll let him go because from what you say and what we've got from your mother. Oh, there she is. Miss Midoriya, your son's totally fine. And she comes running up, and she's like, is my son in trouble for using his quirk in public? And they're like, it's fine, ma'am. He just awakened his quirk then, didn't he? And she's like, well, there was one time, but ever since then, he's never exhibited any real powers. Well then, you should find someone that can help him out, ma'am. And on the walk back home to like Katsuki's house, Inko's dropping off Katsuki, and then she'll take Izuku home. Inko is just thinking, it's like, maybe it's time I gave Izuku that device. His father said if things ever happened, to use this, and it would call him if anything ever happened. And she's just thinking. So we'll cut back several years ago. Hasashi gave her a device. It was a quantum entangled device. Means Inko pushes a button on this device pops up with with a light. This person presses this button, the device Inko has would pop up with a light. So she gets home, and she then tells Izuku to go get washed up and come downstairs. There's something I want to talk to you about, baby. So Izuku, he's a little concerned about this, but on his way home, he did try to practice, and he was able to lift like a garbage can here, some trash up, and then move it into like a trash can there. And so Inko comes down with the device, and she says, "Baby, it's time I explain who your father was and what's going on with you, or what I suspect, Izuku." So Izuku's like, "Wait, I thought you said Dad left and you..." "No. Wait." As he puts his hand, like 3 fingers to like his head, and he's like, "My dad, he wasn't from Earth." As Izuku just looks up at his mom, and his eyes are just wide. And she's like, "I'm sorry, baby. I promised your father I would keep his existence a secret. And I'm sorry. I thought it would be best, but now you're just like him. You use this thing that's called the Force. In any case, baby, I have something. He told me if I was ever in true danger to push this button. If people came here that were from his society, to push this button, and he would make it here as fast as he can. It's your choice, baby, but I'm sure if you push this button, baby, someone will come that will have the answers that you need. But baby, please promise me that you won't use your abilities for evil. You won't." As she begins to she drops to her knees. Izuku runs over to her and hugs his mother, and is like, "Mom, I want to be a hero, and I as he doubles over in pain, clenching his head. And he's like, "Ah, ah." He's just saying "Dad." And then Inko freaks out. Izuku finally passes out. And when he wakes up, he's in a hospital bed. One moment, someone's at the door. Oh, never mind. It's a neighbor. So, oh, yeah, right there. So, he wakes up in the hospital bed, and he asks Mom, "What happened, baby?" And Izuku, not baby, "What happened, Mom?" Izuku said, "What happened, Mom?" So, he asked her this, and she's like, you duffled over in pain after saying Dad." And Izuku's like, "I don't remember that." And then he notices the device in his mother's hands, and it's lit up, and she's like, and he's like, I thought, and she's like, "You accidentally activated it when you were falling." And Izuku, they've run test on him, and he's okay. But that evening, he's sitting out on the porch, and he's thinking. He's looking up to the sky, and he's like, "So, I'm human, but My dad's not from this planet. Mom, I wish you would have told me sooner. It would have made things easier. And then he just hears a voice. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, young one? And he's like, who's there? What's that? Can you hear me, young one? Is your name Inko Midoriya? And Izuku just says no, and the voice says, that means you're his son. Don't worry, young one. You'll see me soon. You'll see me soon. So, Izuku just brushes this off. Not nonchalantly. It's more so he doesn't really think about it. So over the next year, Izuku in Gatsuki's just is a little pissed off, but just amazed about how strong Izuku's quirk is. And he tries replicating what he did with the guy, but he just can't. And the reason for that is Izuku, just like Baby Yoda, when Baby Yoda passed out, the reason why Izuku passed out was because his body just wasn't... He fatigued his body using that much of the Force. So, over the next year, they're about 8 years old. Izuku, he just begins to feel something. He feels someone or something. It doesn't feel like a human. Doesn't feel human, but he feels that he feels it, and he doesn't know how to explain it. So the day comes where Katsuki asks him, like, do you want to go to like an arcade? Do you want to go like to the arcade today after school? And he's like, no, I kind of just want to go for a walk by myself, Kachan, if that's okay. And Katsuki's like, okay, Deku. Kachan, you know that's not nice. And it's like, whatever, nerd. I'm gonna call you that. That's my nickname for you. You were useless, and your quirk, it's kind of useless. It doesn't work all the time. But it's damn powerful. Alright, Izuku. See you tomorrow then. And Katsuki leaves. Izuku goes for a walk. And he feels it again. He just feels that presence. Like, it's getting closer. And he's thinking, it's like, is this dad? Can this possibly be my dad? And a similar scene happens to what Izuku did in canon with the sludge villain, but this isn't the sludge villain. He gets attacked, and before he can react, someone comes in with a weird energy looking blade and basically pushes the person back. This figure is cloaked. I'm using this image simply because, like, Izuku's father wasn't part of the sect, and Izuku won't do this. That'd be too much like another YouTube whatever's when they did the Force. Like, Hasashi was an ancient, belonged to, like, Izuku's family comes from a long line of, like, this order. But this person is wearing a cloaked figure. And they turn around, and Izuku says, Are you the one that's been calling out to me? And the person like nods, and Izuku sees a glimpse of of red, and he takes a step back, but then he stops himself, and he's like, "You're not human, are you?" And the person nods, like, "Yes." And then the person speaks. "Young man, we need to go talk to your mother. There's a lot that needs to be discussed." So, that being said, you beautiful souls, sorry about the interruption and the repeat of information that happened about at the 27-minute mark, but I had to cut a little bit of that out. And with the editing software on my phone, it doesn't really, I can't be precise with like I can with a keyboard and mouse. Right now, I have my PC at a repair shop getting the body repaired and basically getting it fixed, so I don't have that right now, and I'm waiting on parts to come in. So that being said, please let me know what you think down and below, and who do you think this hooded figure is? Now, someone's already guessed it, and a few of you already know who it is because I've talked to you about this series, like kind of gauging if the story setup is good or not. But hopefully, you beautiful souls enjoyed this. Do let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, because it does help the channel grow. And that being said, I will see you beautiful souls in the next video.